And then I realized that in the early days, the early religions were sex cults because people were obsessed with fertility. Their gods were goddesses of fertility. The reason being, when you had a very small population, small village, it was very important to continue to have children. So I thought, well, how ironic. The early religions were obsessed with having sex, and the later religions are obsessed with telling you not to do it.
And then there's probably everything in between, as you
So I decided to bring the same kind of origins-obsessed approach and scholarship and heavy research that I did in the previous books into all of the terms, expressions, sex practices, sex toys, and where do they come from?
And it's a pretty graphic book. It's well done. Some people might be offended by it, and many people will be curious about it and want to turn the pages and discover many things.
But everything is really done in a very serious way, from one of the most taboo words, the F word, which has, it goes back many centuries and has the most ordinary, non-erotic origin. It goes back to Old English, spelled F-O-K-E-N, which simply meant to beat against, the verb to beat against, which is a very apt description of the sex act. The other word is probably more offensive, and that's the C word for female genitalia, which women say is just like the most vile word. It, I think, is one of the most fascinating and innocent origins. First, it exists in all of the European languages with slight variation in spelling. It exists even in Basque, the isolated language in northern Spain. It goes back to about 15,000 years ago, the Indo-European base or root to all of the languages, and it simply meant, spelled with a K, woman or femininity. It was a very innocent thing, and only later was degraded to a body part.
I think Bishop Fulton Sheen put things in a very apt way. We were just talking about that. Let's see if we can find it real quick. Something to the effect of how the Victorian age, we kept sex in the closet. Now in the modern age, we've kind of gone the other way.
Yes, he says the Victorians pretended sex did not exist. The moderns pretend that nothing else exists. Certainly with Monica Lewinsky and everything in the news, you'd think nothing else existed from the magazines and newspaper standpoint.
So what can we learn from your book? I mean, you just said, as far as early religions.
Really quite interesting. When did face-to-face intercourse come about? All of the animals in the animal kingdom do it from the rear. Humans are the only species that do it face-to-face. And it actually started 6 million years ago.
How do you know that?
Well, I was there. I did it. I was the first one. No. It started with bipedalism, walking straight up and down, erect. Two organisms have to be planar and vertical in order to come together face-to-face. There's tremendous advantages in that you have the intimacy of lip-to-lip contact, eye-to-eye contact. Chimpanzees, our closest relatives in zoos and in captivity and in the wild, attempt to do it face-to-face. But because of their larger pelvis, their bowed legs, their hunched body, and the fact that their head hangs further forward, they